Hi, Gavriel.
Hi, Aisha.
Nice to see you again.
You as well. Yeah. So we got some fun topics to discuss here, and
For sure, for sure. Yeah, all about building the new earth, right? This big topic,
that's
this
right.
big topic of conversation. Yeah.
Did you want to just jump in with your
Yeah, for
last
sure.
thought here?
Just, yeah, just some of the thoughts that I've had in the past week um, about the work that I've been developing. And this is really this work that's bridging spiritual wisdom with architecture and site planning and developing a methodology where where I would be guiding the client through this process where they can connect with the land and connect with their intuition and what I call actually your inner architect, or that space that you step into where you realize, oh my God, I'm a creator. I can make things happen, right? But and there's so much that is a part of this work. I've gathered all of my knowledge in anthroposophic architecture, and traveling the world and looking at different communities, some with a more spiritual focus, some communities that are have built with natural materials, etc., etc. But what I've been finding through my training as an energy healer is that, and when I've been working with clients in the architectural context, people need healing. In order for you to transform, in order for us to build the new earth, in order for us to heal the land, in order for us to build something, even take that step to create the vision, whether it's you as a leader or you as a member of a leadership group, or maybe it's just you and your partner. You've got to do the inner work. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. Is it a process? Yes. But what I'm noticing is that how we're stepping into this space where everything is whole, everything is connected. Oh my God, my thoughts about money are connected with the outcomes of my business, or how I relate to my son is directly connected with the way my mother raised me, or like we're starting to make these connections. And what I've noticed is that there's this collapse, like, oh my God, the client is the plan, is the blueprint, is the vision, is the new earth project. And so if the client isn't aligned, who I call the transformational leaders that I am opening up a door, a space for, if that person isn't coming into an alignment with that sweet space, right, that space of love, of joy. And okay, and yeah, that process isn't as easy as this hand gesture. Obviously there's work to be done. You've got to face your shadows, you've got to face your judgments, you've got to face like all these constructs that have been embedded within your body, your structure. You've got to work through that in order for the vision to occur. And a part of me just wants to go to the other side and go, I just want everyone to make beautiful architecture. And I really am a voice for that, for beauty. Really, I want beauty on this planet. But if it's a beauty that is void, if it's a temple that is void of this striving for the inner work and to try to work together as a group, then it's like, what's the point? And also, then you just don't end up manifesting something that is resilient and sustainable, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as we talked before, like whatever you're trying to put out into the world, like there's such a focus on doing and creating, and whatever that outward manifestation is, it's a reflection of what's going on inside. So if we're trying to create, we like to skip steps generally as human beings. Like let's just go to like creating this most beautiful thing, right? But like the beautiful thing, if you're not the beautiful thing, first of all, you can't really create the beautiful thing. And if you're not the beautiful thing, like you're just gonna bring your muck into the beautiful thing. So it's like the need to, as you said, like find that alignment is essential, and it's essential as part of this process of creation and manifestation and building. So um, yeah, to access that alignment in this creative process is absolutely essential. It's like your working outwardly to create a part of this vision. You need to be working inwardly simultaneously. Like
Yeah.
it's not possible otherwise. It will be out of alignment otherwise.
And I feel like it's that much more important for the leaders of these communities to be working in that way. Everybody has a role, right? And again, it's an ebb and flow. You know, you're going to step out of alignment, you're going to go back into alignment. You're going to step out of it and you're going to go back in. And yeah, that's really like that's the best we can do right now, right? And but I feel that even just that stepping into alignment, even, you know, once a week can make a huge difference, right? Can make a huge difference
Why don't you
in
say more a little bit about what you sense as this alignment? Like what is that?
wow, it's like it's kind of an evolving thing, right? It's such a living thing that it's hard to, for me, put a given kind of structure to it. But, you know, I can just describe it as, you know, this space where you feel really connected to earth, to sky, to all that's around. And there is this space where, I mean, I'm just talking about on an individual. If I'm not relating this experience to anybody around me, you really do feel like you are, you know, for a moment at one with the world. But now I'm just trying to think about, you know, the space in which that that experience in relation to maybe my my relationship with my husband, my son, you know, just thinking about family, right? And something opens up, this amazing thing opens up where you're able to step into the shoes of the other, which is big, right? To really do that though. And I took this amazing self-development course run by Lawrence Follows in Guelph. And we went through this training, right? To really be able to step into the thoughts. The thoughts come back and forth all the time, even when you're, but when you're in that space, that possibility of stepping into another one's shoes and to look at life in a different perspective. In fact, I'm even already separating it, right? Like you just become one. Even in my language, I'm already starting to separate, right?
But you got something. I think you got something, you know, that I'll develop in a moment. But this like stepping into another's shoes, right? That's like there's something there that's quite essential to this process, right? You're talking about a oneness, and then you're at simultaneously you're talking about like this like relational field of stepping into another. So say a little bit more about what that experience is like to step into another's shoes.
Well, when you're in that vibration, when you're there in that space, and sometimes it can really only be momentary, really, because then the thoughts start moving in, judgment, oh my God, what if he doesn't understand me, or like, right? But if you keep the focus, right, because we have to use our higher selves, or our we have to use our higher consciousness to really actively engage in that process. um, just stepping in there, being over there with that person, as Lawrence Follows would say. um, Stepping over there, what happens, what happens actually, something happens outside of us. Something happens outside of us. If this was a situation, for example, where I've made the choice, I could have stayed separate from him and maybe argued about a topic. I use my consciousness to enter, step into his shoes. I experience oneness and I experience his perspective. Then something shifts. I don't know what. It's like this matrix that shifts, that all of a sudden a plethora of solutions open up for us. They're like almost handed right to us, like served on a plate. Whereas when you were back there, in that space of judgment, in that space of assumption, seeped in assumption, when you were back there, there was like this very, very narrow view of what the options are, right? In terms of maybe, solving an issue, a family issue, or a certain challenge in life. So this something shifts, a space opens up where, oh, wait a second, we're in this amazing matrix called life that offers us a whole bunch of possibilities. So it's like this 360 feeling, almost physical feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that what you're touching on is so beautiful, because I imagine that when we extend that circle of stepping into the shoes of not just to our partner or our children, our most closest inner circle, but step that out to the world, to our neighborhood, to our community, to our city, country, and so on. And also especially to the earth, right? When we're able to step into the shoes of the earth as an extension of ourselves, we also are able then to download a lot of essential information.
Absolutely, yeah.
In order to build this new earth, this new world that we're talking about. So the question then comes to my mind is like, what is it that what are the factors that allow for us to make that movement, right? What is what are the necessary factors, or the soil, the perfect soil for that kind of movement? Because what I feel is generally in that retracted state where we're just in our own place and we're in judgment, it's because the system does not feel safe.
Yeah.
The system is in a retracted mode, it's in a survival mode, and so there's no space to step into the other.
Right. We feel threatened, or there's fear. Yeah.
Yeah. And therefore, like, we can't like fully self-regulate. We can't find our own, like, in polyvagal it's called the ventral vagal, and that highest part, the most evolved part of the vagus nerve, we're not able to access that, which is this place of safety, like I can face life. We're going down to the sympathetic or down to the dorsal. And so
Okay.
it's like, that's a huge part of it. It's like finding that safety, doing the work, the inner work to find enough of that safety and security, that stable ground to stand on, that allows us to then draw that bridge over to the other. If I don't feel safe in then I'm going to be defending, and I'm going to be judging,
Right.
and I'm going to see you as separate, and all of the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you feel then, the soil, if you just expand a little bit more, if there were these kinds of ingredients that you feel, just connected to what you were saying?
Well,
Just,
excuse me. Yeah. It's like the conditions. Like the conditions need to be right for
right.
That kind of movement. And so,
Right.
creating a safe space, creating communication, setting it up so that each individual feels safe in their own being and safe with the other, in order to then draw those bridges of relation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy of the land is also coming in right now for me. And, just kind of, if we could add that as a next step, right? Like if we're, so there's so many people right now who are wanting to set up new communities, right? They're looking for land. They've got a vision to create the new earth, right? It really is either like an oasis, a paradise, sustainable, housing communities. And yeah, I think that part of the conversation, once we're willing and ready, I mean, it really is just say, okay, I'm willing. It's a kind of ever-growing path, what you're talking about, an ever-growing practice. Yeah, just bringing also the land in that conversation. I think it's so important. A lot of us are really connecting with nature on a deeper level these days. You can see it like everywhere. And I think if you look at the inner aspect of the world of nature, I think then that relationship is very important to establish with nature as well. And it might be a kind of weird topic for a lot of people, even those who are interested in building eco communities. It's like, what? Okay, well, let's just build something sustainable. Let's build something sustainable. We got the solar panels. We're going to get the cob wall going. We're going to get the straw bales going. We're going to get the permaculture going, which is permaculture is, I wouldn't even reduce it down to something just material. It's a vast and amazing topic, absolutely. But what I find that a lot of this lacks is this acknowledgement that the land is a living being and that it has a whole set of assistants on it in the form of many, many different spirits. And they need acknowledgement. They need our attention. They need our attention, acknowledgement. And if we're going to be building the new earth, it's not just about, okay, how can we just buy up this property with a group of people? Let's own this property and let's just zone off from the rest of the world and that's it. It's done. Piece of cake. If we approach the land in the same way, like it's almost like it just dawned on me. We have the responsibility to do the inner work with the land, with our partners, with our community. Like, I'm bringing the land in to that conversation. She needs our help. She needs our help, and we need her help. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in that, like, there's so much that comes up in that, right? Because there's I would say also, like, in certain spiritual communities, a tendency to like personify the land and nature as,
Right. It can
like,
be a romantic notion, right? Yeah.
yeah, as this, like, beautiful, pure, right? And that's true, right? That, and like I shared last time, like, that's like that vertical um
Yeah.
connection where it's like I find like the purity and the holiness, the sacredness in the land, that is this pure light that's shining through, that I'm connecting with, that I'm attaching to, I'm uniting with my body as well, is that same substance of purity and pure connection and light. And so I go into nature and I immerse myself in that. Right. And that's that vertical connection with which is essential. And then the land communicates to me in that way. But then simultaneously is the horizontal. And the horizontal is like, well, how did I get this land?
Right.
How did I get the money to purchase this land? Who was living on this land before me?
Right.
Right? And addressing the shadow aspects, the relational human shadow aspects of the land. Because if we don't do that and we don't take that piece of land in relation to the whole earth and to the whole culture and to the culture we live in, the all of it into account, then we're trying to like pop out and create this thing that's outside of
Yeah.
life.
And the land is like, wait a second, I haven't gone through my transformation. Hello, people. Like, you're lifting me up on this pedestal, but I need to grieve too, it says.
That's right. That's right. There's
I
grief.
need to process my traumas.
That's right. That's right. And it's traumas of oppression of indigenous cultures that were there prior to you getting on that land. It's traumas of the environmental catastrophes that are happening on the planet. It's all of that. And unless we address that, then we're bypassing and we are disconnected, or we are not in alignment. And whatever we create, my sense is it won't be sustainable. It needs to be in the bigger picture. It needs to take all of that into account, as difficult as that may be. Like, one may just
Yeah,
just want to like jump to like creating the beautiful space, right?
I know. And I have that tendency too, because I love beauty. I love, you know, I want a beautiful world, right? Yeah, yeah. But it's so important to lift the veil, right?
Yeah.
And face the dark and the light, right?
And that kind of is a good sort of segue into like what, like what is this vision even?
Right.
What is this new earth? What is it? What are some of the characteristics of it? Some of the expressions of this future that's calling us, right? I even feel like it's not we're creating it. It's actually the future is calling us, and we're trying to listen to its call to
Hopefully. Yeah.
create what it
Yeah.
wants, what it's moving towards.
Yeah.
So so
It's a process of discovery for us. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a great question. Well, forms are breaking down, right? Structures are breaking down. Economic structures are breaking down. School structures are breaking down. Again, it's that fine balance though. Like, yeah, what is this vision for the new future? You know, we're feeling things are breaking down. We're feeling that things are shifting. A lot of people are starting to do the kind of free schooling method. For example, if I were to just think about education, because a lot of the piece of the picture is education. Yeah, education, business. It's hard to pinpoint, isn't it? It is this kind of like ethereal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the vision for sure that I have is definitely people working in community, but you know, that again, that is so vague, right? That's so vague. Another piece of the picture that I think is really important is economy and thinking about a new way of doing business, ethical business, manufacturing, all this kind of stuff. You know, that I think needs to be part of the picture, because again, if we're floating way, way too high and kind of moving up, up, up into the vertical, then we're losing this kind of this material aspect. Although again, you can always flip it, right? Money can also just be numbers, can be divine numbers, right? Like it really doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm noticing I'm just getting pulled in different directions, and yeah, it's this space that actually I know deep within my heart exists on another plane. We're being called towards it.
Yeah, yeah, and that not knowing is really beautiful in my opinion, because it's like you're touching something, you're feeling it, you know it in your heart, and it's yet to fully be revealed. So
Yeah.
it's this mysterious, ethereal expression.
Because the minute I put structures on it or compare, okay, well, this community it did it like this, or they did it like that, or that, you know, that you again you kind of step into that space of assumptions, right?
Yeah.
And then you carry that over and go, well, okay, obviously precedent is important. But you know, if I really go far, 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 you know, in the realm of architecture, there's going to be a space where we're going to be going deep, right into, you know, a space where we're tapping into infinite energy, right? There's already a lot of experiments going on with this, with the 0 point energy, which was started by Tesla. And I'm actually just imagining, oh my God, this infinite energy, what would the buildings look like? And intuitively, I feel there's this kind of these buildings that kind of move in and out and expand and contract, which people are already starting, you know, professors and architects are already doing experiments with this kind of work, or building science. Buildings, Rudolf Steiner talked about buildings that would be kind of expressing themselves like plants, not to be confused with buildings looking like plants. That's very important. Like, oh, no, like we're just going to copy nature. I find that that can be dangerous. Buildings that express themselves like plants. That's a pretty amazing thing to kind of reflect on, right?
Mm.
You know, 3-day workshop, draw what, you know, a building would look like if it was kind of expressing itself like a plant expresses itself.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Like I could see that the building would actually be producing energy, right? And having this relationship for me with the spirit realm that we have absolutely, like we're nowhere near right now. This kind of exchange between spirit realm and the building itself.
And giving back to the earth as well.
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right, like a producing, a fruit-giving building.
mhm, the oxygen giving building.
And you're already starting to see this, right, with buildings that are producing more energy than they consume, right?
Yeah, and then on the level of education, that like that, you know, reminded me of something also that I shared last time around this new like university of Earth, right? The soul versity of Earth, where
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's really, yeah.
where this this vision of like the vertical realization that yes, there's this like understanding of oneness, that we're all part of the same divine light or divine energy that is this great mystery that we exist in, and that we are that, and we can plug into that and be nourished by that. And you know, I use the word soul, and I think that that can be triggering for some people, but for me, it's like that's the soul's awareness, that
Mm.
part of ourselves that has that awareness that we are that, we are, you know, cut from that cloth. We are an extension or expression of that divinity, that divine light, implanted into a body in time. And the bodies are all different, and the bodies all have different history. They all have different ancestry. They have different karma that goes along with that ancestry. They have different um, trauma that goes along with that ancestry. And so each body has a different work to do, has a different type of work. And the work is not like I think part of the, you know, that like zooming out and getting contracted and judging is the place that is like judging and evaluating whose work is better or whose work
Yep.
is
Taking a tally, making a list.
yeah, whose work is more important or more valuable. It's this this place of seeing that it's work, and that the karma is different. It's just different. And so that when you, I had this, you know, this vision of the future, this kind of like sci-fi vision of like the soul comes in to the body, lives its life, and then at some point it goes into the school, and in the school it's welcomed as a soul, and all these different bodies, and based upon like, okay, you're from here, and you're, you know, this is where your ancestors come from, and like all of this, like all of the details, the external details, okay, like so this is your work, this is your particular work.
So who's saying that in this kind of, I mean, just play with it, right? Like who's saying that in this sci-fi movie? Like I'm just picturing myself entering the space, entering the school, and it's kind of weird because it feels like I'm getting assessed in a way. But maybe that's okay because maybe we're not really we don't really care about that level of, it's an objective assessment, right?
That's right, that's
So
right.
who's assessing it?
Well, I think that's, you know, that's a good question.
It's like the high priests.
Yeah, it's something like the and
Maybe,
people are gonna be
maybe.
triggered by that, but yeah, the high priests or the priestesses, the um, um,
Are they the wisdom keepers or something?
yeah,
Or
the wisdom keepers, or the you know, the instructors, the professors, you know, it's the sages, those who have done the work and have gotten to, you know, a level of relationship with both the vertical and the horizontal, and they, you know, it's yeah, Well,
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one because we're going back into a bit of the master and apprentice model, but that's okay, right? Like, it's just like, I actually just, when you started talking, I was thinking, oh my God, what if it's just this like living force, this matrix? Like, if we're getting really sci-fi here, that's kind of pulsating and it's this matrix, and you know where you need to go. You know where you need to go, and you know what you need to do, and you know what role you have just by entering this kind of matrix fluid. Oh my God, I love where this is going.
Yeah, it's good. I like bring it down a little bit. It, I think it just where a lot of this came from was what I realized was, like, my wife and I were discussing how we learned history in school, and like as adults, it just kind of baffled our minds to see the way we were taught history,
Right.
totally as facts and dates, completely disconnected from the body,
Yeah.
disconnected from the heart with emotion. No,
I just remember opening up a textbook, right? You
yeah,
know,
you open
like,
up a textbook, this happened in this time and this and this and this, and it's like there's no life to it. There's not. So it's like, what's the soul's version of history?
right.
And therefore, what we are faced with now, based upon our human actions, and thus what we are faced with to bring healing to, like, and the different, like, because it's like we can't just all say, in a way, save the whales. It's like, no, each work is unique, and each work is essential. So everyone has their own save the whales. They have their own version of what needs
Right.
healing, what line of healing they're working on. And it's more just like um, trying to delineate some of the larger ones, right? So if you're um, born a white male, you have a particular karma that you're born into,
Right.
that then delineates some of, not all of, but some of the more, that collective work that you have the responsibility to address. If you're born a Black woman, you same have a particular history of a particular um, lineage and trauma associated with it, that is then your particular work to bring healing to. So it's uh and that's for everyone, every race and gender and all of it. And it's, yeah.
I wonder if it's just something maybe we don't need to go so deep into, but I wonder if, you know, at one day that there won't necessarily be that kind of attachment.
Well, that's the thing. So when we talk about the new earth, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like when we talk about the new earth, I see the world that is um, transcending race while including it, transcending diversity while including it, appreciating it, celebrating it, but not
Yeah.
getting stuck on it. And
Right. And getting so personal about it
yeah,
in a way, right?
in a way,
Or
yeah. You know, I love like the Bob Marley song, War, that really encapsulates a lot of the vision. It's like, until the philosophy that holds one race superior than another and another inferior, right? This whole progression of like, no, like that's this old story that we're trying to bring healing to. We need to bring healing to
right.
move in the direction of like a place where we are souls and bodies, and we're, you know, we celebrate our diversity. You know, you can be Muslim and I can be Jewish, and that's beautiful. We don't need to like become an amorphous, you know, no religion.
Right, right, because then, yeah, got it.
But in order to get there, we must deal with where we are currently, and the
Yeah.
brokenness and the fractures that we've created through our human history, through seeing through through white body supremacy and the ways of colonialization that have come and created the worlds that we're living in. Like the what we have is a product of that. So if we're going to take our money, that's kind of like, you know, when it comes to this vision that you're having, we're going to take our money and try to build the new earth without addressing, how did we get this money?
Right.
What, on whose backs did it come? On whose oppression did it come? That thing is going to be tainted without addressing those aspects of it, and addressing them in ourselves too. Right? So it's like creating that new earth is addressing all these layers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I feel like the energy has kind of come to a good spot
Yeah.
to wrap it up.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, just in closing, it's like, you know, you doing the work you're doing and incorporating these layers of what also needs to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
The inner realm, the inner shadow realm, before jumping to, like, you know, we want to honor that beautiful vision. Like, yeah,
Absolutely. And that vision isn't, and it really, spirit does, you know, select certain individuals to, you know, to say, no, we got to do this vision, right? Like, you know, but in how you accomplish that vision, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is really dependent on the degree of inner work that you are willing to do.
That's right. That's right. Great. So tea time with Aisha and Gavriel. Come
It was
to,
wonderful, and it went longer than we anticipated, but I think it's yeah, very inspiring.
yeah. So stay tuned for more. We'll have these dialogues on different topics in the future, and it's good to share this time with you all out there.
Yeah, and it's East meets West, right? Vancouver,
Yeah.
yeah, and Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Elora, yeah.
And where can we find out more about your work?
You can go, well, I'm currently developing my website. You can go to the Living Locus. I have a YouTube channel, and you can find me on Facebook at the Living Locus.
Okay, yeah. And if you want to
What
learn
about you, Gavriel? Where can we find you?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about my work, you can go to gavrielstrauss.com. And I do spiritual counseling and relationship coaching and New Earth dreaming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aisha.
See ya.